I'm the Director of Public Works. First of all, Mike Cairns for the town of Parry Sound. This project, through COVID, obviously, all of us have been experiencing quite a shift in the way perhaps we didn't do things for a number of years. So we're in the process of getting caught up. And this project is, as I said, is exciting to us. We have a complicated, although we're small, we're dealing with the 3D milling on two pretty significant sections of roadway, significant traffic from our perspective, certainly, and from the area's perspective. 4 lanes, these are former MTO roads. They were considered connecting link when such a program existed. And one of the important things for us was to deal with positive drainage. We're dealing with a lot of rutting in the asphalt. So we were looking at, the need was there to restore the drainage was one of our big things. And climate change is certainly big for the town of Parry Sound. Our council is committed to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. We're setting targets. GBB will, or Ben John will speak to that later, so I'll stop right there. And this process allowed us to hit all of these things while doing something relatively innovative. It's not brand new. Obviously, MTO has been doing this on a number of fronts, and they're also here to speak as well. So again, we're glad to have everybody here. There's a lot of reasons we chose to go this way. The project actually started last night. Fowler and Rotomill were working last night. You probably, good chance most of you drove through that section of milled asphalt. So you got to see where the project's happening. So a little later on, we did schedule some time from 8 to 9 to visit the site. So I would ask that if we are visiting the site, perhaps we can coordinate behind Parry Sound Fuels. Now that's the Shell station. It's the Shell wholesale route station that has a retailer out front. So it's not the little Shell with the convenience store. In behind, there's a rather large parking lot, and those folks have been gracious enough to allow us to convene there. We'll be able to come out near the roadway. And certainly with Fowler being the prime contractor, we want to make sure we respect all health and safety regulations and follow their procedures. So if we end up with the weather that's conducive to us being out there, we'd encourage you to come out. If you want to see the project happening, we'll convene there, and then we may have the opportunity to restrict ourselves to the sidewalk, which may be a benefit from a constructor's. I see a thumbs up, so I'm guessing that'll be a good thing. We can park there, come out front, stay on the sidewalk outside of the actual work zone. So I guess I will move on and ask Ben John is a climate coordinator with Georgian Bay Biosphere. We work closely with them, and Ben is here to speak to the climate benefits and some of the other activities related. So sorry, I did mean to at the start, the housekeeping, if you need the washrooms, they're off to the right as you come in past the box office, and the refreshments are there. So feel free to get up, help yourself whenever. Okay, thanks.
Switch over to the. Sure. That is the one, yes. Yep. Thanks, Mike. And hello, everyone. On behalf of the ICECAP partnership, I want to start by thanking you for the opportunity to speak with you this afternoon. I'm pleased to share with you today some of the exciting climate action and energy management work and commitments that the town of Parry Sound, as well as the broader region, is currently undertaking. As the town of Parry Sound approaches the final stages of the climate action plan that they're currently developing, which I'll review later in the presentation, it's really, again, encouraging and exciting to see projects like this one that we're gathered here today, projects that are happening in the community that have an emissions reduction benefit, build out infrastructure, and also can result in cost savings. My name is Benjamin John. I am the Climate and Energy Programs Manager at the Georgian Bay Biosphere. Designated as a World Biosphere in 2004 by the United Nations Education, Science, and Cultural Organization, the Georgian Bay Minnedogamie Biosphere it's an ecologically unique and significant area of land and water, which comprises the world's largest freshwater archipelago or series of islands. And if you were on the Island Queen tour this afternoon, you would have had an excellent opportunity to view a good chunk of those islands. As an organization, we're a not-for-profit located here in Parry Sound, with the purpose of nurturing a balance between humans and nature within the region outlined on the map up here. We do this by inspiring and facilitating highly collaborative partnerships for learning and action to enhance our collective capacity within the region, because we strongly believe that sustainable communities can best be achieved by working together and by sharing common goals. So in my role as the Climate and Energy Programs Manager, I support local governments like the town, utilities, public organizations, businesses, as well as the larger community as a whole in the region with planning and implementing projects that either conserve energy, switch fuel sources, build resilience, and ultimately hope to lead to cost savings and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So today I'd like to briefly introduce to you the Integrated Communities Energy and Climate Action Plans Partnership, which is also known as ICECAP, and that the town is a member of. This is a collaborative partnership between the municipalities and First Nations in the region with the collective goal of addressing climate change by, again, reducing GHG emissions and building community resilience through a number of different initiatives and actions. As a member of ICECAP, I'll then introduce some of the commitments that to climate action that the town of Parry Sound has made and the direction of this work that it's heading. And finally, I'll briefly mention as well too how this 3D milling project is an excellent example of how the town is advancing its climate action commitments and ICECAP's objectives. And of course, being cautious of time too, I'll keep things brief and at a high level. So if you do have questions, feel free to ask them at the end of this presentation. So as Mike alluded to, back in 2019, Parry Sound's council, along with a number of other municipalities and First Nations in the area, formally committed to taking climate action by passing a resolution to join the ICECAP partnership. The purpose of ICECAP, which again stands for Integrated Communities Energy and Climate Action Plans, is to bring together the municipalities and First Nations in our region for a more cost-effective and efficient approach to climate action and energy management. By joining ICECAP, the town of Parry Sound has made a commitment to planning and undertaking different projects and infrastructure developments that, again, are going to build resilience to climate change impacts, improve energy efficiency and conservation, look to switch to different fuel sources where they're feasible to do so, and ultimately, again, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, both within the community and its operations. To many, this aspect of cost effectiveness is a major component and benefit of ICECAP, and it's truly a direct result of the collaboration that's taking place amongst members and partners. ICECAP, it provides a space for local governments and First Nations to come together and have an open conversation about the climate and energy work that they're doing, what their needs are in the short and long term, and look to each other advice and share experiences with different projects like this one. So by sharing knowledge, experiences, and resources with one another, this efficient use of resources and willingness to contribute to the shared and collective goals is what allows for these benefits to be achieved. It's important also to mention too that ICECAP, we work with numerous community partners who are critical in supporting advancing these efforts and objectives too. So this also includes local utilities, public health agencies, academic institutes, private businesses, and many more who sit at the ICECAP table. At this point in time, the ICECAP partnership, it has 11 official members, which includes every municipality within the Georgian Bay Biosphere region, 2 First Nations, as well as our organization as well. The list of official members is bolded on the screen here, and as you can see, the town of Parry Sound is such a member. These members have formally joined the partnership by signing on to a memorandum of understanding, which provides a formal governance structure for this partnership. And we operate on an open door policy, so we're always welcoming new members and partners and private businesses to join and share their innovative technologies and ideas that can help support advance the shared objectives. As part of its commitment to ICECAP and its objectives, the town is currently working through the Partners for Climate Protection program, which is overseen by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives. Across Canada, over 400 municipalities have joined and are working on this program. So there's plenty of resources and case studies to help guide participants through this program. And again, helps to further improve the cost effectiveness of taking on this work. The Partners for Climate Protection program that the town is working through, it operates on a 5-milestone framework. This starts by conducting a baseline inventory of their emissions and projecting them into the future. From there, an emissions reduction target is set, and an action plan is then developed to serve as a roadmap for how that target is going to be reached. From there, that plan is then implemented, and its progress is monitored along the way. Participants, they work through this framework twice, once from an overall community perspective and the other focusing on municipal operations. And as you can see from the visual on the screen here, the town has already completed that first milestone and is currently working on its second and third milestones simultaneously. With respect to the milestone 2 and establishing that emissions reduction target, it's worth noting that the town, as well as other ICECAP members, they're carrying out this work with what's called a bottom-up approach. And what that means is that they're undertaking an in-depth review of the opportunities, technologies, constraints, and asset replacement schedules to better understand what level of emissions reductions is actually feasible to achieve. And given the complexity of such an approach, it's often this target setting approach bottom up is not normally taken, which I think speaks volumes to both the leadership that the town and ICECAP members are taking and being accountable for their emission reduction targets and doing their due diligence in knowing what can be achieved beforehand. So while this work has been carried out, the town and ICECAP members have also been writing their climate action plans that focus on their communities, their operations, and infrastructure as well. These plans, they include a series of actions that at a high level can be categorized by looking for new and innovative solutions like the 3D milling technology. Again, looking for those opportunities that result in energy, emissions, and cost savings. It's important to acknowledge, of course, that while this planning and implementation process doesn't necessarily happen in sequence, the town is already moving ahead with implementation in many instances, and they have been doing so for many years. So for example, street lights have been replaced with high efficiency LEDs, and the integration of renewable resources to offset local electrical demand is just an example of the many actions that the town has taken over the years. The 3D milling project, which we've been gathered here to discuss today, is another such project that aligns with the town's climate action commitments and also supports ICECAP's objectives within the region. As a climate action practitioner, what I find to be truly interesting about this project anyways is that it's an excellent example of the town's ability and leadership to reduce their Scope 3 emissions. This is an exceptional undertaking because for the town, Scope 3 emissions, as well as other local governments, are notoriously difficult for any organization to address. But despite this difficulty, as I mentioned, by being accountable and moving forward with its climate action commitments, the town's efforts to source and look for these innovative opportunities and solutions, they result in projects that are expected to see things like cost savings and emission savings compared to a more traditional program. This is a perfect example of what ICECAP seeks to achieve and is a perfect example of the alignment between commitment, planning, and action in the climate change world. So looking for ways in which we can address climate change while developing our communities in a more sustainable way at the same time. Importantly, too, I also want to recognize that through the town's efforts in this has regional benefits as well, too. So through the knowledge sharing platform and discussion that happens at the ICECAP table, Other ICECAP members will have the opportunity to learn about this technology. They'll have the opportunity to learn of its benefits and the town's experiences with it. And in turn, this will then support those members as well in achieving the same sort of benefits when they're undertaking similar projects as well. So as a final thought before moving into a question period, I'd like to invite you to reach out to me directly if you're interested in having a more in-depth conversation about the ICECAP partnership, as well as any of the climate action work that the town is undertaking. My email is climate@gbbr.ca. So with that being said, I'd like to say thank you for your time this afternoon. And I understand this was a very brief, high-level overview of a substantial amount of work that's happening both at the town and within the region. So if you do have any questions, I'd be happy to take those now. One in the back, yep. For this project in particular, I'll let Mike handle that one, but there are, broadly speaking, yes, lots of other technologies within the realms of the buildings environment, asset environment as well, in terms of vehicles, etc. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks. Just to repeat the question for the benefit of those that may be online, just what is the town considering into using other technologies? And I think the question was perhaps specifically directed towards construction, but I'm going to expand on that a little bit. Maybe I'll just briefly tell the story of how we ended up perhaps talking about this topic where we are now. It started with a magazine article, something as simple as that. We were reading, about the technology being used, I believe, on an MTO project, perhaps around Highway 10 near Orangeville. And, it kind of sparked a thought, geez, this, it sounds great. Let's look into it. So we had some conversations and, something as simple as a magazine article has ended up where we are now, looking at these benefits. So we're always looking for new technologies where we can take advantage of it. And thanks, John, you mentioned about the consideration of warm mix. So we're looking at different, asphalt mixes in terms of being able to be responsible from an environment and climate perspective. I think that, for me, that's been a bit of a shift over my construction many years ago. And you just get it done however you can get it done. And now we're starting to consider climate. It's not a matter of just doing it the way we've always done it. How can we do it and be better? We're seeing all sorts of climate impacts all over the world. We certainly, even within our own country. And if we can start helping, that's where we want to be. So from a construction perspective, I can't tell you right now. We're open. If folks have ideas and concepts and we want to look at them and understand, the benefits, that sort of thing. But, from the town's perspective, we're looking at other operations. We have some really intensive energy consumers. Municipalities in general do have some really heavy energy users, whether they be community centers, for us, wastewater treatment, and for every other municipality, frankly, that's a big one as well. So something as simple as that, we're looking at different technologies to be able to avoid hauling, end product wastes and disposals of those things, and how we can get better at achieving our climate goals and our GHG reductions. But from a construction perspective, we're working our way through this one. And like I said, it's not brand new. It's, I believe, when I spoke with the folks at Control Systems, this is perhaps the first municipal application in Canada and perhaps in North America of this technology. So we've seen the benefits, and actually we'll go through some video after that shows you the projects that have been completed. But we're happy that it's been a bit of a learning curve for everybody, starting with us, and that idea from a magazine article, and then talking to the contractors that have done this work and the contractors that are completing with Fowler doing the paving. I think this may be your first I may be speaking out of turn, but your first experience with 3D milling as well. So so I'm not speaking out of turn on that. So, we're working our way through this. This is a bit of a new idea, new concept. So we're all, I'm happy to see the cooperation we're seeing and the collaboration. So I'm not sure if that, I can't answer you specifically on construction, but we're open. How's that? So. Certainly, thank you. And the question for the benefit of the Zoom participants was what's essentially happening with the millings from the project and what are our plans going forward in terms of climate change. So that is a big consideration for us. Right now, we would normally reuse millings as much as we can in terms of our operations. With this one, the millings are going to the contractors. So I can't speak exactly what's going on, but I can tell you that in future years, we plan on moving forward with more project. We have much more road to do. So we anticipate being able to reuse the millings. Now, we have to do that responsibly as well. So some of the ideas that are out there are not necessarily functional for every project. For us right now, the millings were not needed in our inventory. So that's why they're going to the contractor in this particular case. So in future years, though, we may look at different processes of whether it's reuse or alternate use or using it in place of, granular base or shouldering, that sort of thing. So. Okay. Well, thank you, Ben. Thanks, Mike. Just say thank you to Ben. We really appreciate go ahead. Is that yours? Yeah. We really appreciate our partnerships. And I think, like I said, we're seeing a big shift in the way in which we look at doing things. I myself, it's not just simply how do we get it done, but how do we get it done responsibly now? And that's, fiscally and environmentally and from a climate perspective. So. Sorry, I'm just trying to follow along on my own agenda. Okay, so we have Kenneth Shannon from MTO here with a presentation on the MTO spec related to 3D milling. So really appreciate you being able to join us today, and we're encouraged to see what's coming from the MTO as well. So, Kenneth?
Right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kenneth Shannon. I'm a senior engineer in the Highway Design Office at MTO in St. Catharines. Just want to start off by thanking the town of Parry Sound and Mike for the invitation, the opportunity to present here. So I'm going to be giving just a brief presentation on an amendment, a non-standard special provision amendment to OPSS 510, our removal specification which covers 3D milling. I personally wasn't directly involved in the development. My office just kind of got it to the finish line. My office deals primarily with geometric design, roadside safety, active transportation, that kind of thing. And not to discount. Obviously, there's certainly a geometric component to 3D milling, but there's also geomatics as well as geotechnical, which were all heavily involved. So the existing asphalt removal requirements, OPSS, it's covered in OPSS 510 for removal of asphalt pavement, partial depth. Currently, the way we do things is the pavement is removed to the average depth, which is whatever is specified in the contract documents. The way of doing on-site quality control is hold a 3-meter straight edge, and the maximum gap between the bottom of that straight edge and the milled surface shouldn't exceed 6 millimeters. So what this means is, you know, any variation or distortions on the existing highway is likely going to translate to into the milled surface and thus onto a repaved surface. So that'll lead to potentially uneven ride, and, you know, distortions get rougher over the years as they tend to intensify with vehicle loading. So again, it's served us well for many years. It generally works, but you know, to mirror Mike's comments, there's always room for improvement. And so that was the goal that we're chasing with this special provision. So emerging technology, and again, the ministry's been aware of this for a number of years. You know, there's the automated machine guidance that allows for removal of pavement to a much higher degree of precision compared to the average depth method that we currently specify in our removal spec. And as I'll take you through the way our spec works, equipment can mill to a predetermined or pre-designed 3D surface, which is input into its computer. So we've developed this NSSP as an amendment to OPSS 510 that allows for this. So the benefits of 3D milling: minimizes waste and inefficiency in milling and paving operations. Obviously, there's the greenhouse gas component, which wasn't the primary driver behind this, but it's certainly a part of it. You know, our office has a climate change engineer who looks at things like this and ways that the ministry can reduce its carbon footprint. Reduces the chance of any existing distortions from reflecting through into a rehab pavement surface. And it ensures a consistent and a high quality in terms of achieving specified cross slopes, super elevations, and transitions. It also provides just an overall superior as-built product, which hopefully would require fewer repairs between rehab cycles. So patching, strip repairs, selected localized repaving, and things like that our maintenance forces have to do. So first off, we create a digital road surface model, or DRSM. So that requires a geodetic LiDAR survey to go out of the existing road surface. We require an accuracy tolerance of 30 millimeters horizontally and 1 millimeter vertically. And from the feedback that I've received in the field there's 2 projects that it's been used as a trial this year, is that accuracy of the initial LiDAR survey is really the key to success. That's what they're finding in the field. And they measure out a minimum of 500 measured points per square meter of asphalt. So over kilometers and kilometers of road, multiplied by however many lanes there are, that's quite a bit of data to be processed. So the digital road surface model needs to be signed and sealed by an OLS with a specialist in geomatics. So from the DRSM, we convert that into a digital design model. So this is a 3D model of the proposed milled asphalt surface. And again, the DDM can be optimized. So based on a number of constraints listed here, I won't go through all of them, but a couple of things to highlight is it can allow for a smooth longitudinal transition where required. So 400 to 1 for freeways, 200 to 1 for roads with lower design speeds and lower traffic volumes, as well as provides an opportunity to match into to existing constraints, so curbs, catch basins, maintenance holes, that kind of thing. And the digital design model is required to be signed by and sealed by a professional engineer. So from that, the automated machine guidance system is required on a milling machine when this NSSP is used in a contract. So the digital road surface model and the digital design model are used to create what we call a digital machine control file, or DMCF, which is uploaded to the automated machine guidance system. The DMCF guides a milling machine, milling goes out, and the special provision sets out a plus or minus 5 millimeter tolerance, which you think about the coarse aggregate used in the surface course of a typical road is typically a 1/2 inch, so that's half the size of a piece of coarse aggregate. So that's quite the tight tolerance. And that speaks to the level of precision that these systems can mill to. There's a requirement in the NSSP that an OLS goes out with a total station to verify that 5 millimeter tolerance has been met. And based on what's been milled, there's a cross slope tolerance of plus or minus 0.15% as well. So the industry consultation, we posted the draft NSSPs. There's 2 of them, which I'll touch on in the next slide. They were posted on the technical consultation portal site that the MTO maintains for the 21-day consultation period for the public to review and provide comments. That was done in October 2021. We received 4 sets of comments from industry. They were mainly on seeking clarification with respect to survey requirements. So our geomatics office worked to resolve those and improve the spec accordingly. And from there, we provided a formal response, which was posted on the technical consultation portal after making the revisions. And this is this is a good opportunity for me to give a shout out to that technical consultation portal. In case most of you may not be aware, we decided to streamline and kind of consolidate our technical consultation for any new specifications, drawings, policy, that kind of thing. It was actually based in response to an Auditor General's finding and recommendation that we weren't being as maybe open and transparent as we should have been. So the minimum public comment period is 21 days for the technical consultation portal. Anyone can make comments, any member of the public. We do screen them. Obviously, if they're off topic or not appropriate, we won't post them, but that's, it'll be mostly industry and consultants, and ORBA and ACEC are the typical parties that provide comment. I didn't post the URL, but if quick Google search MTO technical consultation portal will take you right there. So just some additional final thoughts. It's currently a non-standard special provision. It's considered for trial use only at this point. There's still, MTO doesn't have a lot of experience with this. It's currently in use on 2 jobs. There's one on Highway 17 east of Sudbury, and then the North Bay bypass as well are underway with this going on. I did reach out to our geotechnical section in Northeast region. They indicated that it's going reasonably well, but again, the initial survey, that initial LiDAR survey is what they've said is really key to success with the digital road surface model and the digital design model and everything that flows from it. So there's a design bid build version as well as a design build version. So in the design build version, the 3D modeling and the survey has to be done by the DB proponent. So it'll be the consultant that gets hired with the contractor to form the project co. And that's where all those survey requirements are quite detailed versus in the design bid build version, those requirements are left out, and the design consultant would have to prepare that. So all the requirements, the technical requirements would go in the terms of reference for the design project, and then it would get handed over as part of the package to the contractor. Some considerations for warrant, obviously with multi-lane roads, it's beneficial. Locations with extensive rutting, which is what the town of Perry Sound is using it on. And then anywhere there's cross slope correction. One caveat is there really should be a sufficient amount of asphalt present to minimize the risk of punching through or milling completely into the underlying granulars. That's obviously something we don't want for a number of reasons. And the use of this NSSP will make achieving compliance. We've been involved with on a separate, unrelated, but kind of hand-in-hand track with introducing an as-built cross slope tolerance, which is SSP 313 F20. And the use of 3D milling would really make that a lot easier to achieve. So we kind of see these working hand in hand going for the future. That's it. So it was just a brief high-level overview of what we're doing at MTO. Again, as I said, it's still a learning process for everyone, but we certainly we see great things coming out of this, and hope to use it quite a bit going forward in the future. So now, if there's any questions. Yeah. That's generally the gist. Yeah. So the question, or I guess for clarification, was for a design build, the contractor is responsible for the DRSM and the DDM, and for a design bid build, our MTO design consultant, and kind of vicariously the MTO is responsible for those two products, which are then turned over to the contractor. Well, on all of them, like the idea is that the DDM is based on the digital road surface model. Yeah, there's nothing specified in the SP itself. And that's, again, not being, I would say it's probably more of a geotechnical requirement. It would be at this point, it'd be at the discretion of the soils engineer or the geotechnical engineer. Again, I'm a contract standards guy, so I I probably don't, probably not the right person to answer the question. But there's nothing written down. Should there be? Possibly. And maybe that's, something in the lessons learned that might come as a recommendation in the future. Oh, there's a couple more questions. So I guess the question is how to deal with that in the field when that happens. Yeah, I mean, the spec is silent on that. Theoretically, I guess in a perfect world, the DDM would take all that into account of where the existing asphalt lifts intersect. Again, it would likely come down to, there's probably a lot of discretion, especially at this point, because it is so new. The discretion in the field as to whether the intent of the spec has been met. And that's where, boreholes for existing asphalt thickness can only tell you so much because there is that variation. So it's, yeah, again, it'll be hopefully a lesson learned. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was 3 months we were looking at. And that is a concern, especially in a DB, where we have to make sure that we give the contractor or project co adequate time between letting of the contract and then when they're expected to have all the work done. I'm not aware of any kickback. Again, not being directly involved. It wasn't part of the feedback I got from Northeast Region. But again, if we run into limits of kind of practicality of achieving what's set out in the specification, then it may be a pause for reconsideration and maybe adjusting it in the future if things are just not feasible the way it's been spec'd out. Not that I'm aware of. Yeah, not specifically writing an NSSP that sets out requirements like this for paving machines. Anyone else?
Thanks very much, Kenneth. I'm just going to talk a little bit. Some of those questions were interesting, and we've been through one night of milling, so we're on a learning curve. We were a little ahead of the MTO special provision. There wasn't anything from MTO in the OPS for us to refer to last year when we started this. So our project is rolled out a little differently. We can see this working, from that perspective in terms of we hired control systems initially when we embarked on this project. So they did the LiDAR scan for us last year. And then we were working our way through the whole project and how to have it come to fruition with paving, obviously, at the end of it. I think we're definitely going to have some learning points to share with everyone when we're done. We're noticing already, obviously, the asphalt thickness wasn't exactly what we had anticipated everywhere. We're going off, best knowledge. As I said before, this was a connecting link. There's a substantial amount of asphalt throughout this project, although we're seeing, the crossfall correction in addition to the milling depth we needed to fix everything. Perhaps the asphalt thickness wasn't there. So we're moving forward with dealing with some of those issues of punch through, how we're going to deal with it. Tatham Engineering is our contract administrator. So we're having discussions with soil engineers on the best method to deal with those with our contractor. Rotomill's doing the milling and Fowler's doing the paving. Fowler's the general contractor for everybody on this. So we're having those discussions, and I'm sure once we're done, we're going to have a lot better information to share with everyone, and we're going to be willing to do that because we want to see, develop things collaboratively and make it work where we need to. And I said this was a complicated project, and I was just going to see if I can. I'm going to cheat and use Kenneth's slide there because when he sent this to us, we were going through this. So the third bullet point, we can check every one of those. We've got multi-lane. We're between 4 and 5 lanes on those 2 sections of roads that we chose to do. Extensive rutting. So we're using, as a municipality, to help fund this work is our OCIF, so the Community Infrastructure Funding, as well as the NORDS funding, which was the Northern Ontario Resource Development Fund. So we have, I was talking to somebody earlier and we were looking, if you look out both ways, you can almost see both of our salt docks. So we have a considerable amount of chlorides moving from town to Northeastern Ontario, all over Northeastern Ontario, throughout town. So the north and south end see a heavy volume of heavy traffic. And that's where we're seeing that extensive rutting coming from. So the NORDS funding is helping offset some of the costs of the paving. In the cross slope correction, we're talking about the drainage correction. So that we have, it's complicated. We're running into maintenance structures. We have sanitary, we have water, and we have storm sewer systems throughout these 2 projects. It's 1 project in 2 sections. So on both ends of our old connecting link. So, as far as the scabbing and the depth of asphalt and where we're going to kind of find that appropriate level, we're learning as we go. Like I said, we've had punch through. We're going to have to deal with it. And we certainly welcome follow-up questions after the fact. If you want to follow up, and please feel free to do that. So there are some sign-in sheets on your tables. If you don't mind filling them out, we'll have your contact info. If you want to have some communication with us, we certainly welcome that as well. So I think I probably should have done it at the start, but I'd like to also say thanks to Eva at from the Consulate Generals Office with the Czech Republic. I'm not sure I see Eva. Can't see anything. Oh, right there. So in helping us arrange this, so Control Systems is based originally in the Czech Republic. And I think the LiDAR scan, when we did it, came out of Timmins. So they were doing some work in the mines up there, which caught my attention. I came back to Parry Sound from up north in my working career. So. Probably should have printed that out, make it a lot easier, right? So, Rotomill is our next speaker. And I don't, Ted's not here, but we will, Rotomill can speak to the experience. I think they're the folks that have been doing the milling portion of these projects. And I think I also wanted to say, come on, I'll be short. as far as the MTO spec, we're happy to see it coming out. We were a bit ahead of the curve, and perhaps that bought us some latitude in learning how to do this from a municipal perspective. But so far, it's been a really good experience, and I anticipate good things coming out of this. So no further ado.
Yeah, there's no presentation or anything. It's just yeah. Just due to an unexpected personal matter, Ted Arscott, who was I believe he founded Rotomill, and he's the chairman of the board at Rotomill currently to date. He can't join us. We asked me to speak on his behalf. My name is Mike Smith. I work at Rotomill as an estimator and a project manager. And without ado, I'll just read Ted's comments here. Ted personally operated the very first milling machine in Canada in May 1977. And since 1979, Rotomill has been an innovator and leader in the development of new milling and road recycling systems and technologies, working with major equipment manufacturers in North America and Europe. With the recent development of precise and robust mobile GPS and scanning equipment, Rotomill's transition into the world of equipment-mounted 3D milling, computer and control systems was a natural evolution for our business. Though there are different 3D control systems that we have evaluated, we do feel that ExactStreet 3D, the differential control system by Control Systems, is the best for us on our highway milling construction work sites. So all the surveying and the digital scanning of the road project is done weeks to months and to years in advance. In this specific case, about a year. And just to keep it very simple, the process simple, the data is analyzed, reviewed, and milling solutions and options are discussed with interested parties before finalizing on a milling design model. So when our milling team arrives on site, we already have the milling design model built right into our computer. We don't have to plan ahead and schedule survey crews to go out 3 hours ahead of us every day. We don't get reduced production times due to closure requirements. We can basically set up and maintain and coordinate our milling operation right off the bat. And with ExactStreet, we can start at any location on the project day or night as well. Where are we here? The ExactStreet system is totally controlled by our GPS on an XY axis, the Z axis by the differential model built into the computer. Basically, we can move anytime, anywhere on the project without the use of surveyors, base stations, total stations, allowing for complete flexibility. The team at Control Systems, ExactStreet, have been leaders in the development of precise mobile scanning and 3D milling in Ontario. And their complete team has great experience in the real world of construction milling and paving. They do know the challenges that our milling machines encounter. I think we're getting really familiar with them now. So we're able to develop a kind of a best practice milling design as we kind of continue with this technology. The ExactStreet 3D milling system can design to reduce depth of asphalt to be removed by the milling machine, allowing for increased efficiency in milling operations, reduced trucking, reduced material handlings, resulting in less fuel, less greenhouse emissions. The finished asphalt pavement will have a safe and smooth surface with improved grade, cross slope, and drainage. I hope that you've all had so far an interesting and educational experience, or are just starting to get your toes wet in it. I hope that the weather cooperates with us this evening, but I'm still crossing my fingers for that. So, and that's what I've got for comment there. Go ahead. Pretty good. That's actually a good question. We have a select group of working machines that we use for our 3D. I don't know exactly how old our oldest unit was, but it is a working FI model, which is a fairly modern model. I don't believe we've tried it with a CAT or our road techs.
It'd be great if you can repeat the questions for the.
Oh,
folks on the
sorry,
other-
sorry. He was asking what models of machines and ages of machines that we've used for this 3D technology. So the question was, is Rotomil doing the LiDAR scans ourselves, or is the MTO giving it to us? It's kind of been a mixed bag so far. I know the North Bay one, we were given a data set and we had to kind of wrestle with that data set to kind of make it work in a, basically try to get the best model we could with the information we were given. And I think that goes back to sorry, Kenneth's comments, that it really, that LiDAR model is the most important part of the process to really refine that and get it done. There's been other projects where we have got control systems to do the scan for us and design internally. Yes. The question was, is it a pickup truck mounted unit that we're using? And the answer is yes. I can speak to only two technologies of who manufactures that product that I know of. One is Leica and the other one is Faro. But Leica is what we've used in the field so far. Another question over here. Mhm. So the question is, what is the tolerance that we're able to achieve when we're out there? Working with, as per VTech's comments with him in the field on multiple projects, it's typically been a 3 mil tolerance. Control systems would probably be better to speak to that exact tolerance based on the design, and we would have to survey after to get an exact tolerance, but that's typically the kind of verbal number. Any other over here? So the question is, does this affect production? I am actually not 100% to answer that question. I would have to go see our sheets and see what our square meter per hour would be, but, or even talk to our foreman and see what he's doing. But off the top of my head, I don't have that answer. I can get it to you though. Question here. Mhm. So to repeat the question is, do we advocate for this 3D process, even though it's seen as an additional cost to the taxpayer? I would say it's a benefit to, well, it's also only an added cost directly to the milling component. So that I'd want to kind of stress that. There can be reductions to trucking components on that. There can be reduced to scratch coats. There's other options like that to save on a project like this. And there is also the option of ending up with a better product. So is that a definitive answer for you? I don't think so, but I think there's other ways to kind of look at that. But as for modernizing an industry and moving forward with new technologies, I think that's something that Rotomil's always stood by. So I would advocate for it. And then another question in the back. So the question was, if we do a really good milling and paving job, if we'll receive bonus? Yeah. At all times? That's an offline answer question. We'll have to. I would say that the tolerances would be improved from traditional. The existing design model, I can show you the well, you have the cross sections, right? You can see the existing one kind of looks like a surfing wave right now, where the proposed is a flat line. So if we can achieve that, I think that we'd all be pretty happy with the end product. Is that it for questions? All right, that's it. Thanks, guys.
I think I've done this each time. I think I'm gonna speak to a couple of those questions because the comment about added cost to the taxpayer, I think, we've shifted the way we're looking at costing projects and life cycle costing. So if we can end up with a better, longer lasting project for a minimal increase at the start of the project, that seems like a really responsible use of taxpayer dollars rather than just going ahead with traditional, mill and pave. Let's take 50 out and put 50 back. And as Mike mentioned, I mean, when we look at those, the drawings that we get from the LiDAR scan it's pretty impressive. I'd love to have LiDAR of the entire town by that, just to throw that out there. In terms of being able to plan things and utilize the data, we've actually taken some of the data that Control Systems sent us and used it for some other, anecdotal purposes, but it was beneficial. The detail in the LiDAR scan is pretty incredible. They're large files, but the detail, like Mike said, it looks like a surfing wave, literally. And when we asked for different presentations of that data, we can get it pretty quickly. I know there was a question about how long it takes. We took a little longer in this. Obviously, we're kind of stepping into this as new from a municipal perspective. But when we get a look at the data sets, there's so much we can use it for beyond just the paving projects. So again, life cycle costing is important to us, not looking at just the initial upfront cost, but restoring that crossfall, getting rid of that rutting. It's pretty severe on some of those roadways. And that's our goal ultimately, not just upfront cost, but life cycle costing, which is, it's a bit of an art form, I think, in terms of being able to assess where we're going to get to, but we're pretty confident that we're seeing those benefits elsewhere. So next, Jerry from Exact Street. So I may have interchanged Exact Street and Control Systems, and perhaps Jerry can explain more of the dynamics there. But did you want to? Well, I'll let you, and then I can start. Or did you want to?
I'm speaking, and then I will
Yeah.
ask you.
Okay.
to
Fair enough. Yeah.
That presentation. So good afternoon. My name is Jerry Jelinek. I'm the head of Czech Trade, which is a government agency under Ministry of Industry and Trade in the Czech Republic, which actually helps Czech companies to do business abroad. And I also represent the Control Systems Canada. So Exact Street is actually the product. Control System Canada is actually part of large group of companies called Exact. That's why the Exact Street, because their products are usually called Exact something, whatever is involved in that project. So it's group of companies mainly in Scandinavia. They have headquarters in Sweden and in some other Scandinavian countries. They're obviously in the Czech Republic, and we are here now in Canada for last, I think, almost 10 years. Exact group employs over 200 geomatic engineers and software developers, I should say. And that's their main focus, to come up with the new technologies, innovative technologies in the mining sector, construction sector, and other sectors which are kind of involved in geomatics, one way or the other. So we do have a little video for you, short video, which will actually show you how the exact street works in reality. This has been filmed in Prague, capital city of the Czech Republic, because Prague is really in favor of this product and technology, and they've been using that extensively. So if we can turn that sound, okay. Hello, Mike. So the presentation is. Oh, okay. I didn't have my glasses.
We are located at Brumarska Road, where the resurfacing is currently taking place. The milling is underway using our 3D technology called Exact Street, which is based on a precise and digital 3D model.
There are two GPS devices placed on top, and that allows us to measure the exact position. We have uploaded a differential digital model of milling into this tablet. All of the data from our tablet goes straight into the milling machine, and it is then controlled automatically. Without our 3D model, the milling machine operator can only set up the constant milling depth based on the project specifications. There's absolutely no way predicting the road imperfections, so the milling machine can only improve the longitudinal ride by averaging out the existing grade irregularities and therefore removing the asphalt pavement in all areas that are actually not required to be removed whatsoever. The Exact Street technology allows us to set an optimal milling depth position of the machine in all locations of milling at all times.
Here is a perfect example where we can clearly demonstrate the difference in our milling process from 4 centimeters to 7 centimeters.
3D milling using total stations require direct visual connection between the total station and the milling machine, which is usually very problematic due to elements such as the traffic, other construction machines, or vegetation. Complications are also caused by vibrations from wind or construction machines themselves. One of the biggest advantages of Exact Street technology is that it doesn't require any total stations and surveyors to guide the milling machine. GPS receiver and a tablet with a digital grade sheet on the milling machine is all we need. Being a Vodkin representative, I can say that we can easily make the road smooth thanks to the Exact Street 3D differential milling. The milling machine operator doesn't need to focus on controlling the milling parameters, and so it allows him to operate the machine with safety while also given an opportunity to perform other duties. The main advantage and the benefits of the Exact Street differential milling offer immense flexibility in planning out the project and focus on details of the working area. The direction of milling can often be affected by traffic, but with our technology, we're able to start and restart from anywhere without any delay. Exact Street 3D differential milling technology is definitely a step forward, and it will facilitate the work of everyone, including the construction managers, technicians, workers, and the machine operators. The definition of future is simply based on quality and improvement. We have definitely accelerated in all of those spectrums.
If we can incorporate the Exact Street 3D technology into the milling process during the initial project preparation, we can manage to keep the cost of the project as low as an estimate, even without this technology. The cost will only be altered by the use of the precise survey, which can be used in the future for archiving purposes. We will store the accurate information about the entire communication, as well as the location of street drains, for instance, and other utilities. We can collect these materials for all services where 3D technology for the milling process will be used. We can accurately verify whether the quantity of materials used for the project is equivalent to the materials planned, and furthermore assess all layers that need to be laid and thus control and sustain the quality in the future.
The government aspect of our business is obviously very important to us as well. Our technology does not only shorten the closing time of the road reconstruction, but also assures the quality that greatly impacts the environment and well-being of our citizens. Thanks to the accurate measurements of the contractor, whose contribution will surely and significantly affect the quality and the endurance of the final product, which is perfectly resurfaced road. From an informatics and robotics perspective, the only future approach to efficient repairs is to create information images of real roads and use them specifically for road repairs and maintenance, thereby achieving economic savings. The trend is definitely to save as much as possible, but the question is, where to save? Here, higher project preparation costs subsequently reduce maintenance costs and extend the lifetime of roads.
Okay, that was our short video. And because I'm not really, I can see there's going to be a lot of questions here, and I'm not really the best person, the technical person to answer those questions. So we are trying to connect with our chief project engineer in Prague, and maybe he can answer your questions through Zoom. So are we making any progress up there? Vitek is online, actually. Yes. Vitek, can you hear us? Okay.
Okay, I can hear you.
Yeah, he can hear us. So now we are open for questions. And there are none. Yes. Did you hear a question, Vitek?
No, could you repeat it?
Question, I think I can answer that, but just to make sure, is Virgan only machines the system can be used on?
In principle, not. It can be used for any kind of milling machines, but the automated mode is optimized for interface of Virgin milling machines from the version I, like any 200i, 220i, 250i, and the new versions FI.
Okay. So any other questions? Yes, please.
Do you guys have any issues with benchmarks?
Yeah, we actually establish our own. But the question was if we have any issues with the benchmark established by the stability of those benchmarks. Those, you mean existing ones?
You've done the scan a year prior.
Right. Yeah, the question is how stable those control points are if we, let's say, do it a year in advance. So are we running into any problems with that?
It's depend of kind of the road and the environment. You know, if it is a swampy area, that the scan and registration points on the asphalt have to be done, you know, just a few months before the milling. We have really good experience if that's done just before winter time, and after after winter time in springtime we do just quality check and then some quick update of the data. I thought, you know, the situation similar like here in Perry Sound, that the both projects are quite stable, that we don't see any significant problem. Even the scan data is done like 1 year in advance, but we highly recommend to do this quality check control before 3D milling, and we can slightly update the data and the model for 3D milling.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. And you mean a GPS and scanning or all together? Yeah, the question if there is any specific equipment recommended for this type of work, like the scanners or GPS. I know we use a Leica, the control system uses a Leica for both, I guess, scanners and the GPS. So do you want to comment on that question, Vitek?
I would like to correct you, Jerry. We use the Regal scanner,
Regal, yeah. Okay.
but the Leica is very good equipment. They provide very good equipment as well. But that's pretty not about the equipment you use, but about the right workflow. You have to use the right workflow, right geometric basis, and follow some rules, and then you can get the right product. Yes, we use the Regal scanners. It's a time of flight system. There is also like phase shift kind of scanners. They're not so good for that kind of outdoor work as I can tell it simple way. And there is a bunch of commercial product which can be used for scanning the road, but the scanner itself is not the main part or the only part. There have to be done also the registration points on the asphalt surface. The MTO specification require digital leveling technique to measure those registration points, and that's like critical and most important part to achieve the requirement from MTO, which is like 1 millimeter elevation accuracy in regarding or linked to the highway benchmarks. It's not like a relative accuracy, that's absolute accuracy to highway benchmarks.
Okay, so pretty well, it's not that much of the equipment which you use. It's just use the right technology and right procedures, I guess. So any other questions? Okay, I guess there are no more questions. So before I finish, I would like to thank you guys, the representatives from the town of Paris Sound and other parties who participated in organizing this event. Well, thank you very much. And I would really like to thank you guys making the time and coming here and giving us opportunity to introduce you to this exciting technology. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jerry. And again, we'd like to say thanks to everybody for sure. I'm glad it was quite a turnout. We weren't sure at first. And again, I am going to thank our staff once again in the middle of this because the folks upstairs are far more technologically savvy than I, and we're able to patch VTech in, who I understand is in Prague at the moment. So thanks, guys, and thanks everybody. And I'm glad we're able to do this. And Eva's here. And she's going to address the crowd. And thank you, Eva, for your efforts and helping us stay organized.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I won't hold you up for too long because I know everybody's probably heading out for some dinner. First of all, thanks again to Mike and his team because the preparation has been very quick and absolutely excellent. We're really glad that this turnout has appeared here, so we'll be definitely happy to give you any support afterwards. On behalf of the Consulate General of the Czech Republic in Toronto, I'm definitely excited to see that this is going forward in the town of Parry Sound. As you have seen, the R&D part of the 3D scanning part of the project has been done in the Czech Republic. So that definitely also shows you that there is a considerable knowledge in the Czech Republic that you could work with. Feel free to reach out at any point. There is a huge variety of smart cities related technologies as well, from AI to traffic control to energy efficient buildings or many other technologies as well. What is interesting though, and what I just would like to draw final attention to here and kind of bring everything to the full circle, is obviously the environmental aspect of the project that's going on here today. The municipal efforts are absolutely crucial in actually making things happen. Between EU and Canada, there's obviously a lot of political alliance in terms of sustainable goals. The CETA agreement has the Sustainable Trade and Development chapter, but projects like these are actually what's really making it happen. Prague was also shown there. It just is worth mentioning that Prague is also at the forefront of efforts in terms of sustainable development and also high-tech solutions that can accomplish that. They were at the COP26 in Glasgow. They are, as well as some Canadian municipalities, part of the coalition of the Race to Zero. So we can definitely do together a lot, and we'll be happy to support control system here. And if you ever go to Prague and need some advice or somewhere else, obviously you can also reach out to, because as many of you probably have been. So thank you again, and thank you for the great event today. Yep.
Thanks, Eva. And certainly I've heard about Prague. I've never been myself, but in moving on, we're that segues into our economic development officer here at the town, Vlad, is going to address our crowd just to give you a little bit of the highlights of things that go on, including the Great Lakes cruising. And I don't know if anybody didn't notice, but the rather large ship that's holding position and just out here. You can certainly see it when you get out in the lobby. And Vlad has told me how wonderful Prague is. So we'll set that as a goal someday to visit. But Vlad, if you'd like to come up. And again, like I said, it's been a cooperative effort. It kind of grew rather quickly in a short period of time. So again, we're thankful for everybody's participation.
Thank you, Mike. So my name is Vladimir Shahovtsov. I'm Economic Development Officer for the town of Parry Sound. And of course, we're very excited about this opportunity today from the economic development perspective. Obviously, and this is no secret, town of Parry Sound is mostly a tourism destination, but quality infrastructure is important for us as visitors come on cars, not only on cruise ships, but as Mike mentioned, we are developing our cruise ship industry very strongly. And it started pre-COVID. Our first cruise ship from the US visited us about 8 years ago. And in 2019, we had 12 visits. Then, of course, COVID happened, and we were not sure how it will work out after the pandemic. But this year, the first year after the COVID struck, we have had a very busy cruise ship season. All in all, 20 visits. So in comparison to 12, that's a significant growth. And we're seeing more and more European operators coming to the Great Lakes, including Parry Sound. And today, you've seen one of those ships by a Norwegian operator, Viking Cruises, brand new vessel built in December of last year, and it's the largest cruise ship to ever enter the Great Lakes. Later this month, and then in October, we will have 3 visits by Ponant Cruises from Marseille, France. So we will welcome a lot of French tourists. And as of next year, we will also see a German operator hapag-Lloyd. So we will see, we will welcome German tourists as well. So all in all, as you can see, we are growing as a tourism destination, and it's important, going back to what I said initially, it's important that our infrastructure in town and in the surrounding area is up to the standards, to, I would say, world standards, to meet expectations of international visitors that also come on our roads. So tonight's event is of extreme interest to us and importance to us from the economic development perspective. I'm very pleased that the Consulate General of the Czech Republic decided to attend the event, because I hope to have some discussion with Eva afterwards, not specifically for this project, but for some other ideas and initiatives that we would like to develop with the Czech Republic in general. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much for coming to this event, and hopefully this is just the beginning of a very fruitful cooperation in this area, but also generally speaking with the businesses from the Czech Republic. Thank you.
Thanks, Vlad. I just noticed we went from thunderstorms back to rain, so who knows, maybe we're improving for later on. We'll cross our fingers again. So I think what Vlad was saying, and it kind of harkens back to that comment about what technologies are we looking at in advancing in construction, but it kind of speaks to the breadth of responsibilities within different organizations and municipalities in particular, you know, moving from economic development to public works to infrastructure to services. So we all look after all those things, and sometimes it's hard to not get, you know, used to what we're doing, but to look outside the box. And this is, again, a great example of that. I think we're looking forward to the results of this, and certainly I would encourage everyone to, if you're able to attend, certainly attend tonight. I would also encourage you to this facility. The Stocky Center is quite a facility. We don't typically get to do our public works stuff here necessarily. We're usually in more functional areas, but it's kind of a nice change to be in here. So their website, thestockycenter.com, and the performing arts, that the shows that go on here are quite spectacular, and it is a great facility for that. And again, the staff have been pretty amazing and pretty short notice, and our staff too at the town and public works. Again, thank you. And thank you to the various members of council that were able to attend. And certainly we want to pass on as much knowledge as we can. And this gave us a little bit more of a venue to be able to do that than a short meeting. And certainly it doesn't have to end there. The project's just getting started. We just started last night. So timing's kind of neat to be able to do this during, and certainly we'd encourage some follow-up, and maybe we can, you know, if we have your contact information, we can certainly follow up with everybody after the fact, kind of with a wrap up and the results of the project and kind of the ongoing, because we're going to need to see how this performs. And it's glad to hear that VTech thinks our roads are doing really well from year to year, but perhaps it's been a number of years since we've redone them. So we're seeing that need right now. But again, thank you for everyone for attending, and hopefully it's been informative. If there are any, I don't know if anybody has any more questions, you can certainly feel free to answer it or ask them after the fact, but you're welcome to now as well. And I'd encourage you to, sorry, Kenneth, I'll get you a sec. I'd encourage you to, we've got a bit of time. It looks like we're pretty close to being on our schedule, which is, I'm happy to see somebody else knows what they're doing far better than I do to keep us on track. So, and encourage you to visit a local restaurant for your dinner, and then certainly join us at the Shell at the South End afterwards at 8 p.m. Kenneth? Yeah, so the question is about the weather and this evening's, and I'm going to defer to John from Fowler. He's probably going to give me an answer right now. Okay, so. All right. Thanks, John. So the answer was we're pushing it off the start tonight until 9 o'clock because apparently my hoping and wishing isn't good enough to fix the weather. So, but you're welcome to stay. We won't know for sure, unfortunately. That's you know, I think we're all used to dealing with the weather in certain circumstances, and hopefully the nasty stuff stays away. So. Barring any other questions, we'd certainly encourage you to help yourself to refreshment before you leave and enjoy dinner. And hopefully we can reconvene at 9 o'clock. Got one more. Sure. I don't know. Craig, did you, sorry, I'm just going to talk to the booth and see if they have some questions they can relay or put up, possibly. I'm just fishing for information.
There was a bit of discussion, but I think it got answered within the Zoom chat. So.
Oh, internally. Okay.
Something else there.
Oh. Right. So the comment or the question was about whether the GPS, if I could paraphrase, maybe is adequate to keep everything, because normally you would have line of sight in a traditional. Right. So again, and those are the conversations that we had with VTech, and I know that Mike mentioned it. You know, when we were having those conversations about tolerances in the field, and that 3 millimeter seemed to be a repetitive number in terms of control and accuracy level. So, and I know Control Systems was very confident in providing that information to us. So. It seems like maybe that was the gist of the chat within. So, and again, certainly if we haven't answered something and you have questions following up, please do that. We did record the Zoom meeting, so we'll have that ability to at least go back, and perhaps if we haven't answered them, we can revisit them with the appropriate expert. And again, if you have something after the fact, please feel free to, if you shoot it along even to myself, we'll figure out who's going to answer it. Chances are it's not going to be me if you're asking some of those questions, but we will certainly find the answer for you. Okay. Well, barring nothing else, thank you very much, everyone, for your attendance. I appreciate everybody visiting, taking the time to come and see us. And let's hope 9 o'clock cooperates. All right. Thanks, everyone.